Hey, it's Nick from The Contrast in 2024. Just a little introduction to this video. I'll tell you why in a moment. At the moment I'm up in Townsville. I'm doing a little bit of work here. I've ridden up from the Southern Highlands and I've gone the inland way, which has not been the most amazing road. Actually, some parts of it are really boring and the road surface is not good at all in some parts, but it's also got some beautiful parts that I've really enjoyed. And also I've been doing a little flying around and working here and there. And probably my favourite part of this trip so far has been Catchment in Northern Territory. But the reason I'm doing an introduction here is because I want to tell you that this video, which is filmed in 2022, there's a whole missing part here because this was during the floods in Australia. Unwittingly, I had ridden up from Tasmania into some of the most significant flooding, and well, a few problems happened. One of them is I rode out from where this previous video was, only to find that the next town over, which had 5 ways of going in, had 4 of those off limits to me. 1 because it was going back the way I came from, and 3 because they were closed due to flooding. And even worse, the app that was run by the government at the time in Victoria was showing that some roads were closed that were open and other roads were open that were closed. It was a mess. I ended up going down a road that the app had said was closed according to their records for flooding, but ended up being open. And I didn't get any footage of any of this because charging batteries while I was trying to figure out how on earth to get out of this area. I thought I might be trapped for a week or something. It was a lot of work. There was a lot going on. I just didn't film it. So this video pretty much skips that section there. And as well, there's a section at the end of the video that's missing as well. So Nick from 2022 will come and talk to you about that at the time. But hey, thank you for watching. There's a really great series coming up. I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you. That's going to be on a different motorbike. You'll see that one soon. And it's quite a large trip. I've managed to get a lot of good little spots of work all over the place. So I'll talk to you soon, but thanks for watching. Well, that got pretty crazy. The only camera I have is the GoPro 10, which can be in the rain, and that camera stopped working and the weather got really wild. So there's no footage of it. And therefore, it's story time. So, after I took off from the barbed wire place, the weather was bad, and it stayed bad for probably about 10 minutes. It was raining very, very heavily and starting to waterlog the road a bit. Not overly so, but pretty bad. But as well, the wind was strong. It was strong wind, and it was in gusts. It was like sudden strong, sudden not. So while I was riding, the bike was doing this. The cars coming the other way were not easy to see, and whenever a truck would come past, coming out the side of it that you couldn't see through, and so it's just this wall of water coming towards you, and when it hit you, it'd throw you back into the seat. And of course all of this, the wind doing this to the bike and those walls of water, knowing there's probably cars going to be coming up behind me, and I don't want to be doing 100 to keep up with the car that's behind me and not have someone pushing right on the back of you. And tailgating out there's just no room for error. It was wild enough that I pulled over onto the side of the road after battling it for probably 10-15 minutes, I think, thinking this is crazy. There's no place to pull over, but being on the road is dangerous, and being on the side of the road like this is dangerous. So I stood there for a few minutes with the bike, really feeling like, you know, a very small piece of dust here and a really massive storm all around me, thinking, how am I going to get through this? This is just everywhere. It looks like it's going to go on for hours. I honestly didn't know whether it was safer on the road or safer on the side of the road. And I kept going. It was easily the worst weather I've ridden through of my life. And I've ridden through bad, difficult weather, but this was stuff that it was just so wild. It was dangerous. So it was one of the times I was actually thankful that the roads into Adelaide are so straight, flat and boring, because the last thing you needed thrown into that mix was curves and undulations and such. So that really was good. But I got on the road again a third time, still battling exactly the same really wild, crazy, dangerous weather. Just thinking, I mean, what am I going to do? Sit out here until it's 5 p.m. and it starts getting dark and it's still this bad. But I pulled over a third time. I found a parking bay, or I found a rest bay, and it had a little shelter as well. But when I was standing there, I noted that there was some blue sky over in the distance. And I thought, looking at the wind, is this storm going across where that blue sky won't hit me, and then I'll just have this weather to go through later on today, or can I pierce through and get that blue sky? I was watching the clouds trying to figure it out. So eventually, after about 5 minutes of sitting there thinking about it, watching, I jumped back on the bike, braced myself again. It really was frightening stuff to do. And just kept riding, and sure enough, did pierce through into that blue sky just as I reached Tailem Bend. It was clearing up as I rode down into, what's it called here, the peninsula? York Peninsula? And as I rode to Tom's place, the weather was nice and fine, so that was nice to get that dry ride in and dry off. And as I was sitting in a cafe having a coffee just to sort of slow down and calm my nerves after all that, it was pretty harrowing. I was looking at that weather that was looking back at me like, what, me? As if it was all nice and innocent, all these beautiful, you know, sunny with light clouds and birds and no wind. It's just an absolute unpredictable personality, the weather that day. So the way it was like butter couldn't melt in its mouth when it was busy trying to kill me about an hour beforehand. It was absolutely insane what it was doing. So that was my ride in. After that, I rode to Tom's place, and it was so nice to ride down in that nice weather. So after that, I jumped onto the bike the next day and rode down to Cape Jervis, where the weather was on and off in terms of rain, nowhere near as bad as it was before though. That was gorgeous as well. But that's how it went, and there's some missing footage there from about a day and a half. I do wish I had the footage of riding through that insane storm, but I was just busy thinking, how can I make sure that I don't get killed out here, that I didn't have that spare brain power to think, how can I record this? I wish I could have. It was unbelievable, and maybe it just would have been nothing but rain and you couldn't watch it anyway, but it was yeah, I hope I don't have to go through that again. Alright, thanks for watching.